She raised the girl for 30 years. Then a stranger arrived and revealed the truth before the wedding. Welcome back, and enjoy the story. Nancy stands frozen at her kitchen doorway, watching as her daughter Donna tries on her wedding dress. The light catches on the antique brooch pinned to the bodice, a family heirloom passed down for generations. After 30 years of raising Donna as her own, Nancy can hardly believe the beautiful woman before her emerged from the frightened toddler she once welcomed into her home during the worst storm in Chicago's history. The doorbell rings, interrupting this perfect moment. A woman stands there, rain-soaked and trembling. "My name is Francine," she says, "and I believe you've been raising my daughter." The words hang in the air like suspended daggers, each syllable piercing the tranquility of the moment. Nancy's hand flies to her chest, her lungs suddenly unable to draw breath. Behind her, Donna has gone completely still, the voluminous white fabric of her gown rustling softly as she turns toward the door. "I don't understand," Nancy finally manages, her voice barely above a whisper. At 62, she had thought life had finished throwing curveballs her way. The retirement from her beloved teaching position, the quiet days volunteering at the community center, the joyful planning of her only daughter's wedding. These were to be the gentle rhythms of her autumn years. Francine's eyes, hazel with flecks of amber so eerily similar to Donna's, dart past Nancy to the bride-to-be, standing frozen in the living room. "May I come in?" she asks, her voice softening as rainwater drips from her coat onto the welcome that Nancy had placed there 25 years ago when they'd finally saved enough to buy this modest Chicago bungalow. What follows is a conversation that unravels the fabric of their lives. Francine speaks of the great flood of 1993, of a desperate 16-year-old girl forced by strict parents to give up her newborn, of hospital records damaged beyond recovery, of 3 decades spent regretting a decision she was too young to fully comprehend. She speaks of searching, of private investigators hitting dead ends, of hope nearly abandoned until a chance encounter with a former nurse led her here, to this doorstep, on this rainy afternoon. Donna, still in her wedding gown, backs away until her legs hit the sofa and she collapses onto it, the dress billowing around her like a deflating cloud. "This isn't happening," she whispers, her eyes never leaving Francine's face, searching for herself in those unfamiliar yet somehow recognizable features. Nancy remains standing, her teacher's posture never failing her even as her world crumbles beneath her feet. She remembers that terrible storm, the hospital where she volunteered, the tiny abandoned girl with frightened eyes. She remembers Margaret, the overworked social worker, facilitating the adoption when no family came forward to claim the child. "There were no records," Nancy says, her voice gaining strength. "The flooding damaged everything." "Margaret said—" "Margaret Winters," Francine interrupts. "She told me my baby had been placed with a good family, but that all records were confidential. She said I needed to move on with my life." A bitter smile crosses her face, as if that were possible. Outside, the spring rain continues to fall, tapping against the windows like impatient fingers, punctuating the silence that follows. In the kitchen, the timer dings. The lemon squares Nancy had been baking for the wedding planning committee meeting now forgotten, likely burning at the edges. Donna suddenly stands, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. "I need to change," she says, gathering the expensive fabric of her dress with trembling hands. "I can't. I need to think." She flees up the stairs, the sound of her bedroom door closing, echoing through the house like a gunshot. Nancy and Francine regard each other across the entryway, 2 women connected by an invisible thread, one they never knew they shared until this moment. "You had no right," Nancy finally says, her voice low and controlled despite the storm raging inside her. "No right to come here now like this. She's getting married in 3 months." Francine nods, accepting the rebuke. I know my timing is terrible, but once I found her. She stops, takes a steadying breath. I've missed her entire life. I couldn't miss this too. The sound of muffled sobbing drifts down from upstairs, and Nancy flinches as though physically struck. Every tear Donna has ever shed has been Nancy's to dry, every hurt hers to soothe. This pain, this is different. This is a pain Nancy has caused simply by loving a child who needed a mother. You should go, Nancy says, opening the door wider. She needs time. Francine reaches into her purse with trembling fingers, extracting a small, worn envelope. My number, she says, placing it on the small table beside the door. When she's ready, if she's ever ready. She steps back out into the rain, her shoulders hunched against more than just the weather. As Nancy closes the door, she catches sight of the family photos lining the hallway wall. Donna's first day of school, her high school graduation, the two of them at the Grand Canyon, sunburned and laughing. 30 years of memories, of a life built on what she now knows was an incomplete foundation. The lemon squares are indeed burned. Nancy removes them from the oven mechanically, setting the blackened pan on a trivet. She will need to make more for tomorrow's meeting, where the other volunteers will ask about wedding plans, unaware that the world has shifted on its axis. For now, though, Nancy climbs the stairs to Donna's room, knocks softly on the door, and prepares to do what she has always done: comfort her daughter, even when she doesn't have the answers. If you are enjoying the story, type 5 in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this. If not, type Joe, it helps me create even better content for you. Continuing. The news spreads through their Chicago neighborhood with the efficiency of an electric current. By the following week, Nancy can feel the weight of curious stares as she selects tomatoes at Janelli's market. Mrs. Kapowski, who has run the neighborhood watch program since Nixon was in office, stops Nancy outside the bank with transparent concern. Such a terrible shock for you both, she says, her eyes gleaming with the excitement of fresh gossip. And with the wedding so close, is Donna still going through with it? I heard she cancelled the caterer. Nancy smiles tightly. The wedding plans are on hold while we sort things out, she says, the words bitter on her tongue. She doesn't mention that Donna has barely left her room in days, that she sits for hours staring at old photo albums as if searching for clues she missed about her own origins. She doesn't mention that Garrett, Donna's fiancé, has been coming over daily, bringing food that goes uneaten and comfort that seems to fall short. Well, if there's anything we can do, Mrs. Kapowski says, patting Nancy's arm. You know you're not alone in this, but Nancy has never felt more alone. Even her sister Victoria's daily phone calls from her diplomatic post in Brussels offer little comfort. How can she explain the fear that grips her heart? That after 3 decades of being Mom, she might suddenly become merely Nancy, the woman who raised her? At home, she finds Donna at the kitchen table surrounded by papers. Hospital records, birth certificates, adoption documents, all spread out like puzzle pieces, refusing to form a coherent picture. The dates don't match, Donna says without looking up, her voice hoarse from crying or disuse. Nancy isn't sure. Which, the hospital record says I was admitted on May 2nd, but the initial adoption paperwork is dated April 28th. How is that possible? Nancy sets down her grocery bags, approaches cautiously. The flooding caused so much confusion, sweetheart. Papers were damaged, systems failed. Margaret always said it was a miracle any record survived at all. Donna finally looks up, her eyes red-rimmed but clear. I called her. Margaret Winters. Nancy freezes. You found her? She retired to Florida 10 years ago. It wasn't hard. Donna pushes a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture so familiar it makes Nancy's heart ache. She's driving up next. Weak, says she needs to set things right. Nancy sinks into a chair, her legs suddenly unable to support her. Set what right? Donna's laugh is short, brittle. That's what I asked. She wouldn't say over the phone. She begins gathering the papers, stacking them with methodical precision. Garrett's coming over for dinner. He's bringing lasagna from Antonio's. Your favorite, Nancy says automatically, though food preferences suddenly seem like trivial knowledge compared to the mysteries of her daughter's biological origins. Was it? Donna asks, and the question cuts deeper than any accusation could. Or was that just something we decided together over the years? How much of me is really me and how much is learned, absorbed, created in reaction to you and this life? The philosophical depth of the question takes Nancy aback. This is her daughter, thoughtful, analytical, always digging beneath the surface to find the truth beneath. Whether that comes from nature or nurture seems suddenly irrelevant. This is who Donna is. You were always you, Nancy says firmly, from the first moment I held you. 2 years old with skinned knees and a vocabulary that surprised everyone. Fierce and kind and so determined. She reaches across the table, not quite touching Donna, but offering her hand palm up. Nothing about that has changed. Donna stares at the offered hand but doesn't take it. Francine called again yesterday. Nancy withdraws her hand slowly. And? I told her I wasn't ready to meet, but I asked about medical history. Donna's voice falters. Did you know I might be carrying a gene for hemochromatosis? That my fatigue and joint pain might not be anemia at all, but too much iron in my blood? Nancy feels the blood drain from her face. For years, they've been treating Donna's persistent anemia with iron supplements, potentially exacerbating a condition they didn't know she had. How many other secrets are locked in Donna's DNA, mysteries Nancy could never have solved for her? We'll get you tested, Nancy says firmly. Right away. I'll call Dr. Myers tomorrow. Donna nods, then stands abruptly. I need to shower before Garrett arrives. She pauses at the doorway. She asked about the wedding, Francine, whether she could come. Nancy's heart constricts painfully. What did you say? I told her there might not be a wedding at all. Donna's voice breaks on the last word, and she hurries from the room before Nancy can respond. Left alone, Nancy begins unpacking groceries with mechanical movements. The familiar rhythm, cans to pantry, vegetables to refrigerator, offers no comfort today. She reaches for the ceramic bowl where she keeps onions and potatoes, a piece. She made herself at the community center pottery studio. The weight of it in her hands grounds her momentarily, and she remembers the satisfaction of creating something from nothing, of watching formless clay take shape beneath her fingers. The doorbell rings, and Nancy startles, nearly dropping the bowl. It's too early for Garrett. For a wild moment, she wonders if Francine has come back, unable to respect the boundaries they've asked for. But when she opens the door, it's Jerome, their mail carrier for the past 15 years. Package for Donna, he says, holding out a small parcel. Needs a signature. Nancy signs for it, noting the unfamiliar return address in Oak Park, a Chicago suburb. Inside, she places the package on Donna's designated spot at the table, but curiosity and fear make her linger. What new revelation might it contain? What further disruption to their already fractured lives? The sound of the shower running upstairs reassures her that Donna won't appear suddenly. With trembling fingers, Nancy picks up the package, turning it over in her hands. It's lightweight, carefully wrapped in brown paper and secured with an excessive amount of tape. The handwriting on the label is precise, almost artistic, nothing like Francine's hurried scrawl on the envelope she left behind. Nancy sets it down again, ashamed of her impulse to invade Donna's privacy, to control what information reaches her. This is the crux of her fear, she realizes. Not just that she might lose Donna to her biological mother, but that Donna might look back at their 30 years together and see control where Nancy had thought she was showing only love and protection. The shower stops. Nancy busies herself preparing a salad to accompany the lasagna, chopping vegetables with the practiced efficiency of a woman who has prepared thousands of meals in this kitchen. By the time Donna comes downstairs, hair damp and face freshly scrubbed, Nancy has the table set and her emotions carefully tucked away behind a mask of maternal concern. "A package came for you," she says, nodding toward the brown parcel. Donna approaches it cautiously. "From who?" "I don't know the sender." Nancy hesitates. "It's from Oak Park." Donna's hands hover over the package. "That's where she lives. Francine." The moment stretches between them, taut with unspoken fears. Finally, Donna picks up the package and tucks it under her arm. "I'll open it later," she says, and Nancy releases a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Later that evening, after a strained dinner where Garrett valiantly attempts to maintain conversation while Donna picks at her food and Nancy watches her with poorly concealed anxiety, Nancy retreats to her pottery studio in the converted garage. The cool, damp clay between her fingers centers her as nothing else can. She works without conscious thought, letting her hands shape and form, press and smooth. It's nearly midnight when she realizes what she's created. A delicate vase with a narrow neck and graceful curves, almost identical to one she made 30 years ago, which still sits on Donna's dresser holding dried lavender. Nancy had made it during those first uncertain months after bringing Donna home, during late nights when sleep eluded her and the responsibility of motherhood felt overwhelming. The parallel strikes her with force. Once again, she is creating. With her hands, while her heart races with fear of losing what she loves most, the symmetry of it brings tears to her eyes. A soft knock at the studio door makes her look up. Donna stands there, still in her dinner clothes, but with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders against the spring chill. "Can't sleep?" Nancy asks, setting aside her work and wiping her hands on a damp cloth. Donna shakes her head, then enters and takes a seat on the worn sofa Nancy keeps for visitors. "It was a photo album," she says without preamble. "The package, pictures of her, Francine, when she was pregnant with me, and after, her holding me in the hospital." Her voice catches. "I have her eyes and her hands." Nancy feels a stab of something complicated, jealousy and loss and curiosity, all tangled together. "May I see them?" she asks, unsure if she really wants to. Donna hesitates, then nods. "They're on my bed. I just needed some air." She pulls the blanket tighter. There was a letter, too. She explained why she gave me up. Her parents, they were strict Catholics. She was 16, they gave her no choice. Donna looks up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "She named me Grace." The name hits Nancy like a physical blow. Grace. Not Donna at all. A stranger's name for her daughter. "She's not asking for anything," Donna continues. "She just wanted me to know that she thought about me every day, that she tried to find me for years." She wipes a tear away, almost angrily. "She has another child, a son. He's 21. He doesn't know about me." Nancy absorbs this information slowly. A half-brother. Another piece of Donna's biological puzzle falling into place. "How do you feel about that?" she asks carefully. Donna laughs. The sound hollow. "I don't know how to feel about any of this. I'm angry and curious and sad, and I don't know who I'm supposed to be angry at. You? Her? The system that separated us? The storm that caused the flood?" She shakes her head. "Part of me wants to call off the wedding, just pause everything until I figure out who I am." "And what does Garrett say about that? That he loves me no matter who my parents are?" Donna's smile is small but genuine. That I'm still the same person he fell in love with. He's right, Nancy says softly. Is he? Donna challenges. Because I don't feel like the same person. I feel like I've been living someone else's story. Like I need to find out what my real story was supposed to be. The words cut deep, but Nancy forces herself to hear them, to really listen to what her daughter is saying. This isn't about rejection, it's about identity, about reconciling the life Donna has lived with the life she might have had. Your story is whatever you choose to make it, Nancy says finally. It always has been. Biology is just a starting point. It's not a destiny. Donna looks at her for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she stands, letting the blanket fall from her shoulders. I'm going to call her tomorrow. Francine, I think I need to meet her. Nancy nods, not trusting herself to speak. Will you come with me? Donna asks, her voice small and suddenly young. Relief floods through Nancy, so intense she feels lightheaded. Of course she manages, whatever you need. Donna crosses the room and for the first time in days initiates contact, bending to kiss Nancy's cheek. Thank you, she whispers, for everything. After Donna leaves, Nancy sits alone in her studio, surrounded by the creations of her hands. Outside, Chicago sleeps under a blanket of spring rain, the city lights reflecting off wet streets and creating halos around lampposts. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new hurt, new possibilities. But for tonight, Nancy allows herself to find comfort in the knowledge that no matter what changes come, the foundation remains. The love between a mother and daughter, built day by day, year by year, choice by choice. Will Donna finally meet with her biological mother, and what revelations might come from Margaret Winter's visit? The threads of this family tapestry are only beginning to unravel, with each pull revealing new patterns beneath. What will remain when the truth is fully exposed? The community center buzzes with activity as Nancy arranges clay pots on display shelves. The spring exhibition has always been her favorite event, a showcase of work created by her students over the winter months. This year, she moves through the preparations like a sleepwalker, her mind constantly returning to the meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Donna and Francine face to face for the first time in 30 years. These are lovely, says Director Simmons, lifting a small blue bowl thrown by Mrs. Gutierrez, an 80-year-old widow who discovered pottery after her husband's death. Your students have outdone themselves this year. Nancy smiles automatically. They worked hard. Director Simmons studies her with shrewd eyes. And how are you doing, Nancy? Really? The whole staff is concerned. The kindness in his voice nearly undoes her. I'm managing, she says, busying herself with adjusting a vase's position, one day at a time. If you need more time off— No, Nancy interrupts firmly. I need this, the routine, the work. She gestures around the bright, airy room with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the center's courtyard. This place has been my sanctuary for 15 years. I'm not about to abandon it now. He nods, understanding. Well, there's something I wanted to discuss with you anyway. A potential guest instructor for the summer session. He hands her a brochure. She's quite well known in textile art circles, specializes in narrative quilting, telling stories through fabric. We were lucky to get her to consider us. Nancy glances at the glossy pamphlet, and her blood runs cold. Staring, back at her is Francine's face, smiling beneath the heading Frances Wilson Textile Narratives. You know her? Director Simmons asks, noting her expression. We've met, Nancy says faintly. She hands the brochure back with trembling fingers. I'm not sure it's a good fit for our program. Really? Her work is extraordinary, very emotional, very connected to themes of loss and discovery. He frowns. Is there something I should know? Nancy debates internally. The community center has been her domain for so long, her professional territory, separate from her home life. The idea of Francine invading this space too feels unbearable. But she's also aware of how small and petty such feelings are, how they betray the fear still coursing through her. She's Donna's biological mother, Nancy says finally, the one who's recently come back into our lives. Director Simmons, eyes widen. Good Lord, Nancy, what are the odds? In a city of nearly 3 million people, astronomical. Nancy laughs bitterly. Unless, of course, it's not a coincidence at all. The implication hangs in the air between them. Had Francine deliberately applied to the center, knowing Nancy volunteered there? Was this another avenue of insertion into their lives? I'll reject the application immediately, Director Simmons says, but Nancy surprises herself by shaking her head. No, she says slowly. Don't do that. I need to think about this. The rest of the afternoon passes in a blur. Nancy completes, the exhibition set up mechanically, her mind racing. By the time she arrives home, she's made a decision that feels either brave or foolish. She's not sure which. Donna is in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, her movements precise and controlled. How was the center? She asks, without looking up. Interesting, Nancy replies, dropping her bag on a chair. Francine applied to teach a workshop there this summer. Donna's knife stills. She did? Apparently, she's quite accomplished in textile arts, narrative quilting. Donna resumes chopping, but her rhythm has changed, become more deliberate. Did you know that when you agreed to meet her tomorrow? I just found out today. Nancy pulls out another cutting board, begins helping with dinner preparations. It might be a coincidence. Do you believe that? Nancy considers the question. I don't know what to believe anymore. They work in silence for a moment, the sound of knives against cutting boards creating a syncopated rhythm. Finally, Donna speaks. I saw Amir today. The apparent non sequitur confuses Nancy. Dr. Menon? Why? Are you feeling worse? No, the opposite, actually. The new treatment is working. Donna sets down her knife. It turns out I never had anemia. The hemochromatosis was causing similar symptoms, but requiring exactly the opposite treatment. Too much iron, not too little. Nancy feels a fresh wave of guilt. All those years encouraging iron-rich foods, insisting on supplements. It's not your fault, Donna says, reading her expression with the ease of long familiarity. You couldn't have known. If we'd known your biological history, then we'd have known, Donna interrupts. We didn't. We worked with what we had. She picks up her knife again, returns to slicing bell peppers with methodical precision. Amir says I'll need regular phlebotomies, blood removal to manage the condition. But otherwise I should feel better than I have in years. That's wonderful news, Nancy says, meaning it despite the circumstances of its discovery. It also means, Donna hesitates, it means any children I have will need to be tested. It's hereditary. The implication hits Nancy with force. Grandchildren, a generation not yet born, but already affected by biological connections that Nancy has no part in. Have you told Garrett? Donna nods. He wants to get tested to see if he's a carrier. The genetics are complicated. She adds the peppers to a bowl of mixed vegetables. His mother called again about the wedding. She wants to know if we're still on for July. The wedding. In the chaos of recent weeks, it's become almost an abstraction, a future event too distant to focus on amid immediate concerns. What did you tell her? That we're still deciding. Donna reaches for an onion. Garrett says we should just elope, go to the courthouse and be done with it. Is that what you want? Donna's laugh holds a hint of genuine amusement. What I want is for my life to make sense again. For everything to go back to how it was before. She shakes her head. But since that can't happen, I don't know what I want. Nancy understands the feeling all too well. About Francine and the community center, she says, changing the subject. You're back. I was thinking maybe it's not the worst idea. Donna looks up sharply. Really? Her work is supposed to be extraordinary, and the center could use fresh talent for the summer program. Nancy focuses on chopping carrots, avoiding Donna's gaze. It might be a controlled way for you to get to know her, on neutral territory. With you there, Donna surmises. With me there, Nancy confirms, if that's what you want. Donna is silent for so long that Nancy finally looks up. Her daughter is watching her with an expression of wonder. You never stop surprising me, Donna says softly. After everything, you're still trying to make this easier for me. Nancy feels a flush of emotion. That's what mothers do. The shum. Word hangs in the air between them, suddenly freighted with new meaning. Which mother? Both? Donna sets down her knife and approaches Nancy, wrapping her arms around her in a fierce hug. You're the only mum I've ever known, she whispers against Nancy's hair. Nothing changes that, not biology, not Francine, not anything. Nancy holds her daughter tightly, allowing herself to believe, just for a moment, that maybe they can navigate this impossible situation, that maybe their bond is strong enough to withstand even this test. The doorbell rings, shattering the moment. Donna pulls away reluctantly. That's probably Garrett. He said he might stop by after work. But when Nancy opens the door, it's not Garrett who stands on the porch, but a small, white-haired woman with keen eyes and a determined set to her mouth. Hello, Nancy, she says. It's been a long time. Nancy stares in shock. Margaret, I thought you weren't coming until next week. Margaret Winters adjusts her purse strap with arthritic fingers. Some things shouldn't wait that long. Her gaze shifts past Nancy to where Donna has appeared in the hallway. Hello, Grace. Donna flinches at the name. I go by Donna, she says firmly. Margaret nods. Of course you do. May I come in? There are things you both need to know, things I should have told you 30 years ago. Nancy steps aside mechanically, allowing her into their home. As she closes the door, she catches sight of a car parked across the street, its engine running, a silhouette visible behind the wheel. With a sudden certainty, Nancy knows who waits there. Francine, watching. From a distance, as her carefully constructed approach unravels beneath Margaret Winters' unexpected arrival. The kitchen, so recently a scene of mother-daughter reconciliation, now feels crowded and tense with the addition of Margaret. The older woman sits at the table, her back straight despite her 70-plus years, her eyes darting between Nancy and Donna with nervous energy. Would you like some tea? Nancy offers automatically, falling back on hospitality as a shield against the anxiety coursing through her. No, thank you. This won't take long. Margaret places her purse on her lap, clasps her hands atop it like a shield. I've come to set the record straight before things go any further. Donna leans against the counter, arms crossed defensively. What records? The ones that got conveniently destroyed in the flood? Margaret has the grace to look ashamed. There was a flood, she confirms, and many records were damaged, but not yours. She takes a deep breath. Grace Elaine Wilson was never officially surrendered for adoption. Her mother, Francine, was underage and under tremendous pressure from her parents, but she never signed the final paperwork. The kitchen falls silent, except for the soft tick of the clock above the stove. Nancy feels as though she's been submerged in ice water, her extremities numb, her thoughts slowing to a crawl. What are you saying? Donna finally asks, her voice dangerously quiet. I'm saying that legally there was no adoption. Margaret's fingers tighten on her purse. Your grandmother, Francine's mother, arranged for you to be placed temporarily while Francine considered her options. But instead of following proper procedures, she made a private arrangement with a hospital administrator. When the flood hit and chaos ensued, it provided convenient cover for irregularities. Irregularities, Nancy repeats, the word tasting like ash in her mouth. Is that what you call giving a child to a stranger without proper legal process? You weren't a stranger, Margaret counters. You were a respected teacher, a hospital volunteer with an impeccable reputation, and you were desperate for a child after years of trying. Her expression softens slightly. I knew you would give her a good home. So you just handed her over. Donna pushes away from the counter, begins pacing the small kitchen. Without paperwork, without Francine's consent. Francine was a minor. Her parents had legal authority. Margaret's voice hardens. And they were convinced that a child would ruin her future. They wanted her to finish high school, go to college, have a normal life. And did she, Nancy asks quietly, have a normal life? Margaret hesitates. She never stopped looking for Grace, for Donna. Even after she married, had another child, it affected her deeply. Donna stops pacing abruptly. The adoption papers I have, they're forgeries. Margaret winces at the word. Technically, you were part of an emergency placement program after the flood. The paperwork was expedited, backdated. She looks directly at Nancy. You knew something wasn't right. You must have. The accusation strikes like a physical blow. Had she known? There had been questions, certainly. The unusual speed of the process, the lack of home visits that normally accompanied adoptions, Margaret's insistence that they focus on the future rather than the past. But Nancy had wanted so desperately to believe that the universe had finally answered her prayers, had finally seen fit to grant her the child she'd longed for. I thought, Nancy begins, then stops, unable to continue under Donna's intense gaze. She thought she was saving a child no one wanted, Margaret finishes for her. I let her believe that. Why come forward now? Donna demands. After 30 years of silence, Margaret's composed facade finally cracks. Because I'm dying, she says simply. Pancreatic cancer. 3 months, maybe 4. She straightens her shoulders. I've made my peace with God, but before I go, I needed to make peace with the people I've hurt, including you, both of you. The revelation hangs in the air, impossible to absorb alongside everything else. Nancy feels a perverse urge to offer comfort to this woman who has just upended their lives for a second time. Instead, she asks, Does Francine know about the forged paperwork? She suspects. Margaret shifts uncomfortably. Her parents told her you had legally adopted the baby, that it was too late to change her mind. She believed them for years. It was only later, when she hired a private investigator who couldn't find any legitimate adoption records, that she began to question the story. Donna sinks into a chair across from Margaret, her face pale. So, legally, who am I? Legally, you're Donna Stevens, the daughter of Nancy Stevens. The adoption may have been irregular, but it was finalized and registered with the state. No court would overturn it after 30 years. Margaret reaches out tentatively, stopping just short of touching Donna's hand. I'm not here to disrupt your life further, just to tell the truth before it's too late. The truth, Donna repeats bitterly, after a lifetime of lies. Not lies, Nancy interjects, finding her voice at last. Not from me. I loved you from the moment I saw you. I wanted you more than anything in this world. That has always been true. But you must have suspected. I suspected the process was unusual, Nancy admits. But in the aftermath of the flood, Everything was unusual. Emergency procedures were in place. I thought, she swallows hard, I chose to believe what I wanted to believe, because the alternative was losing you. Donna's expression is unreadable. And now? What am I supposed to believe now? Before Nancy can answer, the doorbell rings again. All three women freeze, looking toward the hallway as though it might offer some escape from this impossible conversation. "That will be Francine," Margaret says quietly. "I called her before coming here, told her everything. She deserves to be part of this conversation." Nancy feels a surge of anger so intense it momentarily blinds her. "You had no right," she begins, but Donna cuts her off. "No, she's right. If we're finally getting the truth after 30 years, everyone should hear it." She stands, smoothing her hands down her jeans with a gesture that reminds Nancy painfully of the little girl who would straighten her uniform before school pictures. "I'll get the door." Nancy and Margaret sit in loaded silence as Donna's footsteps retreat down the hallway. The soft murmur of voices, too low to distinguish words, drifts back to them, followed by approaching footsteps. Plural. Francine enters the kitchen like someone approaching an altar, reverent, careful, eyes downcast. She looks different than she did on that rainy day 2 weeks ago. More composed, her hair neatly styled, wearing a simple blue dress that accentuates those eyes, Donna's eyes. "Thank you for allowing me in," she says softly, addressing Nancy directly. Nancy doesn't trust herself to speak. She merely nods, gesturing to an empty chair. Donna remains standing, positioned almost equidistant, between the two mothers, as though physically manifesting her emotional state. "Margaret was just explaining how I came to be with Mom," she says, the word Mom visibly impacting both older women in opposite ways. Relief washing over Nancy's face, pain flickering across Francine's. "Yes," Margaret says, regaining her composure. "As I was saying, the adoption, while irregular in process, was legally finalized. But there's something else you should know." She looks directly at Francine. "Your mother paid Nancy." The words land like a grenade in the center of the kitchen. Donna makes a small, wounded sound. Nancy rises halfway from her chair in automatic. Denial before the memory hits her. An envelope of cash pressed into her hands by Margaret. "For initial expenses," Margaret had said, "from an anonymous donor who supports our emergency placement program." $10,000, Margaret continues inexorably, given to Nancy as assistance, with the understanding that she would never seek the biological family or allow them to find her. "That's not true," Nancy protests, finding her voice at last. "The money was presented as support from a foundation. I had no idea. My mother," Francine interrupts, her voice hollow, "always solving problems with money." She looks at Nancy, without accusation, just a deep, bone-weary sadness. "She told me it was 50,000, that she had essentially purchased your silence." "I would never," Nancy begins, then stops, realizing the futility of denials in the face of such catastrophic misunderstanding. "Donna was never for sale. Not to me." Donna moves suddenly, pulling out a chair and sinking into it, her face ashen. "So I was what? Sold? Given away? Stolen? What exactly am I supposed to believe here?" Margaret shifts uncomfortably. "You were placed with a loving mother who wanted you desperately. The circumstances were compromised by powerful people making decisions they had no right to make." She glances at Francine. "Your mother was just 16. Your grandparents were influential in the community. No one was willing to challenge them." "Except you," Francine says quietly. Now, 30 years later, Margaret has the grace to look ashamed. "I've made many mistakes in my career. This was the worst." She adjusts her purse in her lap. I've brought copies of all the original paperwork, what was filed officially and what wasn't. You all deserve to know exactly what happened. She produces a thick manila envelope from her purse and places it on the table between them. No one reaches for it. I should go, Margaret says after a moment of heavy silence. You have a lot to discuss. She stands with the careful movements of the elderly, or perhaps of the terminally ill. I'm staying at the Palmer House through Sunday. If you have questions... She leaves the offer hanging. I'll see you out, Donna says suddenly, rising from her chair. Left alone with Francine, Nancy feels a weight pressing on her chest, making each breath an effort. 30 years of motherhood, tainted now by the revelation of money-changing hands. Would Donna ever believe that Nancy had known nothing of the true source? That she would have rejected it vehemently had she known? She was beautiful, Francine says abruptly, as a baby, the most perfect thing I'd ever seen. Nancy looks up, surprised by the direction of Francine's thoughts. I got to hold her for an hour, Francine continues, her gaze fixed on some distant point only she could see. My mother said it would be easier if I didn't, but the nurse, she was kind. She brought Grace to me while my parents were dealing with paperwork. A tear slips down her cheek. I memorized every detail, the whirl of hair at the crown of her head, the tiny fingernails, the way her eyelashes lay against her cheeks when she slept. Despite herself, Nancy feels a surge of empathy. She knows exactly the details Francine describes, has her own mental catalogue of Donna's, every feature as a child, as a teenager, as a woman. I named her after my grandmother, Francine says softly. The only person in my family who showed me kindness during the pregnancy. She died 2 days before Grace was born. I didn't know, Nancy says, the inadequacy of the words striking her even as she utters them. About any of it. Francine finally meets her gaze. I believe you. About the money, her smile is sad. My mother was skilled at manipulating situations to get what she wanted. She would have made sure you didn't know the true source. The front door closes, and moments later Donna returns to the kitchen, her expression guarded. She's gone, she says unnecessarily. She left her hotel information. She places a business card on the table beside the manila envelope. An awkward silence descends. 3 women bound by circumstances none of them fully controlled, now forced to navigate the aftermath 30 years later. I think, Francine says carefully, that I should go too. This is a lot to process. She stands, smoothing her dress. I didn't come back to disrupt your lives or to take anyone's place. She looks directly at Donna. I just needed to know you were okay. That you were loved. I was, Donna says, her voice thick with emotion. I am. Francine nods, blinking rapidly against tears. Good, that's all I wanted. She reaches for her purse, then hesitates. The community center application. I didn't know you volunteered there, Nancy. I saw a call for summer instructors in a textile arts magazine. It seemed like a good opportunity. It's a wonderful program, Nancy says automatically. Your work is very impressive. Thank you. Francine's smile is tentative. Perhaps we could discuss it another time, when things are less raw. Nancy nods, not trusting herself to speak. At the door, Francine turns back one last time. The wedding, she says hesitantly. Is it still? We're figuring it out, Donna says, standing protectively close to Nancy. Everything's up in the air right now. Of course. Francine adjusts her purse strap. Well, when you decide, I'd be honored to attend, in any capacity, or not at all, whatever you prefer. After she leaves, Donna and Nancy stand in the hallway, listening to her car start and pull away from the curb. The house feels unnaturally quiet in her wake. So, Donna says finally, that happened. The simple statement, so characteristic of Donna's dry humor in difficult situations, startles a laugh from Nancy. Yes, it certainly did. Donna runs a hand through her hair, a gesture of frustration she's had since childhood. I'm going to call Garrett. Cancel dinner. I think we need, she gestures vaguely between herself and Nancy. Time, Nancy supplies. Just us. Just us, Donna agrees. She hesitates, then adds, I don't care about the money. I don't believe you knew. Relief floods through Nancy so intensely her knees nearly buckle. Thank you. Later, after pizza ordered, from their favorite local place and a bottle of wine Nancy had been saving for a special occasion, they sit on the back porch swing, watching fireflies begin to emerge in the gathering twilight. The manila envelope remains unopened on the kitchen table, a problem for tomorrow. I used to imagine her, you know, Donna says quietly, the wine having loosened her tongue. My biological mother. When I was a teenager and we'd fight, I'd fantasize that she was nothing like you, that she'd let me stay out late and wear whatever I wanted. Nancy smiles ruefully. All teenagers do that, biological connection or not. But after college, when I moved back home, Donna swirls the wine in her glass. I started wondering if she was like me, if my love of math came from her or my terrible singing voice. Definitely the singing, Nancy teases gently. I come from a long line of choir members. Donna laughs, then grows serious again. I think I want to get to know her, not as a replacement. She looks anxiously at Nancy. Never that, but as an addition. Another piece of the puzzle. Nancy nods, swallowing against the tightness in her throat. I think that's wise. And the community center idea. You teaching pottery, her teaching quilting. Maybe that's not the worst way for us all to figure this out. Maybe not, Nancy agrees, surprising herself with how much she means it. They swing in silence. For a while, the rhythmic creaking of the chains soothing in its familiarity. Finally, Donna speaks again, her voice small in the gathering darkness. Mum, do you think we should open the envelope, see what really happened? Nancy considers the question carefully. I think, she says slowly, that the past matters less than what we choose to do now. But if knowing would give you peace, then yes. We should look. Donna leans her head against Nancy's shoulder, a gesture she hasn't made since adolescence. Tomorrow, she decides. Tonight, can we just be us? Like before? Nancy wraps an arm around her daughter's shoulders, breathing in the scent of her hair. Different shampoo now than when she was a child, but still essentially Donna. We are still us, she says firmly. Nothing changes that. Not paperwork, not biology, not Francine. We're still us. In the distance, a rumble of thunder promises another spring storm. Nancy tightens her arm around Donna, remembering another storm 30 years ago that brought this extraordinary person into her life. Whatever revelations tomorrow's envelope might bring, whatever complications Francine's presence adds to their lives, the essential truth remains. Love made them mother and daughter, and love will see them through this storm too. At the end of chapter 8, I find myself wondering, have you ever experienced a major disruption that made you question your identity or family connections? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. May arrives with a burst of vibrant green, trees that stood skeletal against winter skies, now lush with new growth. Nancy finds herself noticing the transformation more acutely this year, attuned to the symbolism of renewal as her own life undergoes its dramatic restructuring. The envelope from Margaret has been opened, its contents examined with painful thoroughness. The truth, laid bare in black and white, proved both better and worse than imagined. No formal adoption had ever been processed, but a legal guardianship had been established, later converted to adoption through channels greased by Francine's parents' influence. The money had indeed come from them, documented as a charitable donation to the hospital's Family Services Department, with a portion discreetly channeled to Nancy as support services. The knowledge sits uneasily, a stone, in Nancy's stomach, that occasionally shifts and reminds her of its presence. Yet day by day, a new rhythm establishes itself. Donna has begun meeting with Francine weekly for coffee, careful conversations building tentative bridges between them. Nancy maintains her distance, not from resentment, but from wisdom, giving Donna space to explore this new relationship. Without feeling torn between loyalties, the community center becomes unexpectedly neutral ground. Director Simmons, after initial hesitation, approved Francine's workshop application. Now, 3 afternoons a week, Nancy shapes clay in one studio, while Francine guides students through textile narratives in another. They nod cordially when passing in hallways, exchange professional courtesies when necessary. It's not friendship, not yet. But neither is it the painful awkwardness of their first encounters. Today, Nancy finishes her afternoon class early, her students dispersing with clay-covered hands and proud smiles, carrying imperfect but cherished creations. She cleans the studio methodically, finding peace in the familiar routine. As she wipes down the last wheel, Director Simmons appears in the doorway. "Nancy, do you have a moment? There's someone I'd like you to meet." She follows him to the main office, curious. A young man waits there, tall and lanky, with an earnest face and eyes that stop Nancy in her tracks. Amber-flecked hazel, identical to Donna's, to Francine's. "This is Henry Wilson," Director Simmons says. "He's joining our summer environmental program. Henry, Nancy Stevens, our pottery instructor." "Nice to meet you," the young man says, extending his hand. His grip is firm, his smile genuine and unguarded. He has no idea, Nancy realizes with a jolt, no idea who she is, who Donna is. "Henry is a marine biologist," Director Simmons continues, oblivious to Nancy's internal turmoil. "He'll be leading workshops on the lake ecosystem for our youth program." "That sounds wonderful," Nancy manages, studying him surreptitiously. Beyond the eyes, she sees other similarities, the shape of his jaw, the slight dimple in his left cheek when he smiles, Donna's dimple. "My mother mentioned you," Henry says casually. "She's teaching quilting this summer, said your pottery is amazing." "Did she?" Nancy's voice sounds strange to her own ears. "That's kind of her." An awkward pause follows, broken by Director Simmons' phone ringing. He excuses himself, leaving Nancy alone with Donna's half-brother. "So," Henry says, rocking slightly on his heels, "you've been with the center a long time?" 15 years, Nancy confirms, "since I started teaching." "Cool. I'm new to Chicago, actually. Been studying coral systems in Florida, but funding dried up, so—" He shrugs. "Mom suggested I try a change of scenery for a while." Nancy wonders if the suggestion was entirely innocent, or if Francine had orchestrated this coincidence as well. The thought is uncharitable, she knows, but trust remains fragile between them. "Well, Chicago's a wonderful city," she says politely. "I'm sure you'll enjoy your time here." Henry nods, glancing at his watch. "I should get going. Meeting Mom. For dinner." He smiles again, that guileless smile that reminds Nancy painfully of Donna at the same age. "Maybe I'll see you around? Mom says the pottery studio makes great mugs for the staff. I'm a serious coffee addict, so I'll probably be placing an order." "We'd be happy to accommodate you," Nancy says, watching him go with a curious mixture of emotions swirling in her chest. She calls Donna immediately, stepping outside to the center's courtyard for privacy. When Donna answers, Nancy can hear the bustle of the architectural firm, where she works, in the background. "Henry's here," Nancy says without preamble, "in Chicago, at the center." A beat of silence. "Did you talk to him?" "Briefly. He doesn't know about you." Another pause. "Did Francine send him?" She suggested he come to Chicago, whether that was with this specific outcome in mind. Nancy leaves the question hanging. I'm meeting her for coffee tomorrow, Donna says thoughtfully. I'll ask her directly. Are you ready for that? Meeting him? I don't know, Donna admits. It's one thing to discover a biological mother, but a brother. Her voice drops slightly. What if he resents me? What if he feels I was chosen and he was second best somehow? You'll never know unless you talk to him, Nancy points out gently. I know, Donna sighs. One earth-shattering revelation at a time, please. After they hang up, Nancy remains in the courtyard, watching a pair of robins hop across the grass in search of worms. The complexity of their situation continues to unfold like a piece of intricate origami, each fold revealing new dimensions, new challenges. Henry, innocent, unknowing, now drawn into their complicated web of relationships. That evening, as Nancy waters the plants on her back porch, her phone rings again. Expecting Donna, she answers without checking the caller ID. Hello? Nancy? It's Francine. Nancy nearly drops the watering can. In all these weeks of careful navigation, Francine has never called her directly. Yes? I'm sorry to call out of the blue, Francine says, her voice tense. But I thought you should know before Donna. Henry saw her photo on my dresser. He asked questions. I told him the truth. Nancy sets down the watering can carefully. The whole truth? As much as I know, Francine confirms. About giving her up, about finding her again, about you. How did he take it? A soft laugh. Better than any of us, honestly. He wants to meet her, properly. Nancy absorbs this information slowly. Does Donna know you're calling me? No, Francine admits, but I thought you should hear it from me rather than being blindsided, and she hesitates. I wanted to ask your advice on how to handle this. You know Donna better than anyone. The acknowledgement, so freely given, catches Nancy off guard. For the first time, she considers that this dance they've been doing, careful, distant, polite, might be as difficult for Francine as it is for her. She's cautious, Nancy says finally. She likes to process things thoroughly before acting. If Henry is eager and she seems hesitant, don't push. Let her set the pace. Thank you, Francine says, genuine gratitude in her voice. That helps. A pause. I want to do this right, Nancy, for everyone's sake, but especially for Donna and for Henry. They deserve to know each other. Yes, Nancy agrees, surprising herself with how much she means it. They do. After they hang up, Nancy sits on her porch swing, watching darkness settle over her small backyard. The conversation has left her oddly settled, as though a piece of furniture long sitting askew has finally been straightened. For the first time, she can see Francine not as a threat, but as another woman doing her best in an impossible situation. A woman who, like Nancy herself, puts Donna's well-being above all else. The next morning brings chaos. Donna calls at dawn, voice tight with panic. The venue cancelled, the river room, plumbing issue. They're closing for major repairs in July. The river room, the waterfront venue Donna has dreamed of since childhood, where Nancy once took her for a special 16th birthday dinner. Where 3 months from now, Donna was supposed to marry Garrett. Oh, sweetheart. Nancy sits up in bed, instantly alert. Can they refer you to another location? Everything's booked. It's peak wedding season. Donna's voice cracks slightly. Garrett says we should just postpone until fall, or do something small in his parents' backyard. The defeat in her daughter's voice sparks a protective fire in Nancy's chest. Absolutely not. We'll figure this out. Come over for breakfast. We'll make a plan. By the time Donna arrives, Nancy has coffee brewing and French toast, Donna's childhood favorite, on the griddle. They sit at the kitchen table, surrounded by wedding magazines and venue listings pulled from the internet, crossing off options one by one as Donna confirms their unavailability. "It's hopeless," Donna says finally, pushing away a magazine. "Everything decent is booked solid through September. Nancy refuses to accept defeat. What about non-traditional venues? Art galleries, botanical gardens? Checked already. The ones that do weddings are booked. The others don't have facilities." Donna pokes listlessly at a piece of French toast. "Maybe it's a sign." "A sign of what?" "That we're trying to force something that isn't meant to be." Donna won't meet Nancy's eyes. "With everything that's happened, maybe we should just wait, figure out who we are before adding marriage to the mix." Nancy studies her daughter carefully. "Is that what you want, or what you think you should want?" Donna sighs. "I don't know anymore. Garrett's so patient, so supportive, but sometimes I look at him and wonder if he really understands what I'm going through. How could he?" Before Nancy can respond, Donna's phone rings. She checks the display, surprise flickering across her face. "It's Francine," she answers, putting the call on speaker. "Hello? Donna, it's Francine. I hope I'm not calling too early." "No, I'm at Mom's," Donna says, the casual use of the title Mom warming Nancy despite the circumstances. "We're having a wedding crisis. The venue cancelled." "Oh no," Francine's sympathy sounds genuine. "That's terrible timing." "It's a disaster," Donna confirms. "Everything's booked." A brief hesitation on the line. "I might have a solution," Francine says carefully, "if you're interested." Donna and Nancy exchange glances. "What kind of solution?" Donna asks. "My family has property on the lakeshore, about 40 minutes north of the city. It's not fancy, just a small house with a big yard that goes down to a private beach. But it's quite beautiful, especially in summer." The offer hangs in the air between them. Nancy holds her breath, watching emotions play across Donna's face: surprise, hesitation, curiosity. "That's very generous," Donna says finally, "but I couldn't impose like that." "It's not an imposition," Francine assures her. "The place sits empty most of the time. I inherited it from my grandmother, the one you're named after." Another pause. "You could at least come see it, no obligation." Donna looks at Nancy, a silent question in her eyes. Nancy gives a small nod of encouragement. "Okay," Donna says. "When could we look at it?" "This weekend, Saturday morning. You could bring your fiancé, of course. And Nancy, if she'd like to come." The inclusion, so naturally offered, touches Nancy unexpectedly. "Thank you," she says. "I'd like that." They arrange details, and after the call ends, Donna sits back in her chair, expression thoughtful. "That was unexpected." "Very generous," Nancy agrees. "Do you think it's another attempt to insert herself into the wedding? Into our lives?" Nancy considers the question seriously. "Maybe," she acknowledges. "But maybe it's also just a genuine offer of help from someone who cares about you." Donna toys with her fork. "She mentioned Henry yesterday, said he knows about me now." "And?" "And apparently he's excited to meet his long-lost sister." Donna manages a small smile. "She showed him photos. He thinks we have the same nose." "You do," Nancy confirms, thinking of the young man at the community center. "And the same eyes." "It's strange," Donna muses. "A month ago, I was just me, only child, daughter of a single mom, bride-to-be with a normal, uncomplicated life. Now I'm half of a hidden pair of siblings, daughter to two mothers, with a wedding venue problem that might be solved by a grandmother's house I never knew existed." She shakes her head in wonder. Life is bizarre. Beautifully so sometimes, Nancy suggests. Donna looks at her, really looks at her for the first time that morning. "How are you so calm about all this? So accepting? I keep waiting for you to break down or lash out or something." Nancy smiles ruefully. "Oh, I've had my moments, just not where you could see them." She reaches across the table to take Donna's hand. But at the end of the day, what matters most to me is your happiness. And if connecting with Francine, with Henry, with this part of your history brings you joy or peace or completion in some way, how could I stand in the way of that? Donna's eyes fill with tears. I don't deserve you. Nonsense, Nancy says, firmly. You deserve everything good in this world. Always have. Saturday dawns clear and warm, a perfect early May day. Nancy drives, with Donna beside her and Garrett in the back seat, following Francine's detailed directions north along Lake Michigan. As they leave the city behind, the landscape opens up. Grand homes set back from the road, glimpses of blue, water between trees beginning to leaf out. Turn left at the stone pillars, Donna reads from the directions. Then follow the gravel drive to the end. The pillars appear, weathered limestone with no name or number to mark them. Nancy turns onto a narrow drive that winds through a stand of old maple trees, before suddenly opening to reveal a modest Cape Cod-style house, white with blue shutters, perched on a rise overlooking the lake. Francine waits on the porch, and she's not alone. Beside her stands Henry, tall and slightly awkward, hands shoved in his pockets. The sight of him causes Donna to freeze momentarily as they exit the car. I didn't know he'd be here, she whispers to Nancy, smoothing her hair nervously. We can leave if you're not ready, Nancy offers immediately. Donna squares her shoulders. No, it's time. She takes Garrett's hand, drawing strength from his solid presence beside her. Introductions are made with careful politeness. Henry, up close, is even more obviously Donna's relative. The same mannerisms, the same slight tilt of the head when listening. He seems genuinely delighted to meet her, his enthusiasm breaking through the initial awkwardness. Francine, Mum, has been showing me all your baby pictures, he says with a grin, the ones she got from the nurse at the hospital. You were a seriously cute kid. So were you, Donna counters, surprising everyone. At their looks, she explains, Francine showed me some of yours too. That Halloween costume with the tentacles. Impressive engineering for a 6-year-old. Henry laughs. I was obsessed with octopuses. Still am, actually. Part of why I went into marine biology. Just like that, the ice breaks. As they tour the property, the cozy house with its vintage charm, the sprawling yard sloping down to a private beach, the old boathouse that could serve as a perfect bar for the reception, conversation flows more naturally. Henry and Donna discover shared interests, similar tastes, mirrored personality quirks that can only be explained by genetics. Nancy hangs back slightly, watching the interactions with a curious mix of emotions. There's a pang, certainly, at seeing Donna connect so easily with these biological relatives. But there's also a profound joy in witnessing her daughter's world expand, her identity deepen and grow more nuanced through these new connections. Francine approaches as the others walk ahead toward the beach, Garrett and Henry engaged in animated conversation about fishing, Donna laughing at something one of them has said. Thank you for coming, Francine says quietly. I know this can't be easy. Nancy considers deflecting with politeness, then decides on honesty instead. It's complicated, she admits, but seeing her like this, it helps. Francine nods, understanding. I want you to know, she says carefully, that I have no intention of trying to replace you. You're her mother in all the ways that truly matter. The words, so simple yet so profound, release something tight in Nancy's chest. And you're her mother too, she acknowledges, in ways I can never be. The genetic connection, the physical similarities. Different pieces of the same puzzle, Francine suggests. Perhaps so. They stand in companionable silence for a moment, watching their shared daughter walk the shoreline with her fiancé and newfound brother. Then Francine turns slightly, gesturing toward a garden visible on the side of the house. I've been meaning to show you something, she says, if you're interested. Curious, Nancy follows her to a garden enclosed by low stone walls. Inside, plants grow in a seemingly haphazard but clearly intentional pattern, herbs and flowers, arranged in connecting spirals and overlapping circles. My grandmother's healing garden, Francine explains. She was Portuguese like your family, believed in the old ways, plants for medicine, for protection, for connecting to those who came before. Nancy stares in astonishment. The layout, the specific plants, it's nearly identical to the small garden she maintains behind her Chicago bungalow, a tradition passed down from her own grandmother. How? She begins, unable to complete the thought. Francine smiles. Cultural memory, perhaps, or maybe just one of those remarkable coincidences that make you wonder if there's more to the universe than we understand. She runs her fingers gently over a sprig of rosemary. When Donna mentioned your Portuguese heritage, I felt, I don't know, like perhaps there was a reason, beyond mere chance, that she found her way to you. The sentiment, unexpected and touching, brings tears to Nancy's eyes. I'd like to believe that. From the beach, Donna calls to them, waving excitedly. Mom, Francine, come see. Garrett thinks this would be perfect for the ceremony site. The two women exchange a glance, a moment of perfect understanding passing between them. Then, together, they walk down to join the others, two branches of a family tree that, against all odds, have found their way back to common ground. What will bloom from this unlikely reunion? And what fresh challenges await as the wedding day approaches? The truth is unfurling like the spring flowers in the grandmother's garden, slowly, beautifully, with unexpected patterns only visible when viewed from the right perspective. Will Donna and Garrett finally get their waterfront wedding? Will Donna's complex new family find harmony as they navigate this milestone together? The summer sun climbs higher over Lake Michigan, illuminating possibilities none of them could have. Imagine just months before. June arrives in a blaze of summer heat, Chicago's streets shimmering beneath an unusually fierce sun. In Nancy's garden, the tomatoes flourish while more delicate plants wilt despite diligent watering. It feels symbolic somehow. Some things thrive under pressure while others falter. Wedding preparations have shifted into high gear. The lakeside property has proven perfect, its natural beauty requiring minimal decoration. Donna has thrown herself into the planning with renewed enthusiasm, as though the venue change has freed her from constraints she hadn't recognized were binding her. Today, Nancy sits at her kitchen table surrounded by response cards, tracking guest confirmations in a spreadsheet that grows more complex by the day. The guest list has expanded to include Francine and Henry, of course, but also a handful of Wilson relatives who have expressed eager interest in meeting the long-lost family, member they never knew existed. The doorbell rings, pulling Nancy from her calculations. She opens the door to find Henry on her porch, looking slightly uncomfortable in the heat, a covered dish in his hands. "Sorry to drop by unannounced," he says, pushing sweat-dampened hair from his forehead. "Mom made her famous gazpacho and insisted I bring some over, said it's perfect for hot days like this." The casual reference to Francine as mom no longer stings as it once might have. Nancy steps back, welcoming him in. "That's very thoughtful. Would you like some iced tea? You look like you could use it." "God, yes, please," Henry says with heartfelt gratitude, following her to the kitchen. He sets the dish on the counter and glances curiously at the wedding paperwork spread across the table. "How's it going? The planning?" "Organized chaos," Nancy admits, pouring tea into tall glasses filled with ice. "But progressing. Your mother's property is a godsend." Henry accepts the glass with a nod of thanks. "It's a special place. I spent summers there as a kid learning to fish with my grandfather." He takes a long drink, then adds casually, "Donna mentioned you might need help with setup the day before. I'm pretty good with a hammer if you need an extra pair of hands." The offer, so naturally made, touches Nancy. Henry has integrated himself into their lives with remarkable ease. His open nature and genuine affection for his newfound sister breaking down potential barriers. "That would be wonderful," she says. "We're setting up tents and tables on Friday afternoon." "Count me in." He sets down his glass and fidgets slightly. "Actually, there was something else I wanted to ask you." Something in his tone makes Nancy pay closer attention. "Yes?" "Donna and I have been talking," Henry begins, choosing his words carefully, "about family history. Medical stuff mostly, given the hemochromatosis situation, but also just trying to figure out where we come from, you know?" Nancy nods encouragingly. "Anyway, we were thinking about doing one of those DNA ancestry tests. Both of us." He looks up, meeting her eyes directly. "I wanted to make sure that wouldn't bother you. Some people can be sensitive about that sort of thing." The consideration in the question warms Nancy. "That's thoughtful of you to ask, but no, it doesn't bother me at all. I've always encouraged Donna to know as much about her heritage as possible." She smiles ruefully. "Of course, I thought her Portuguese roots came from my side, when really, it seems they come from your grandmother." Henry brightens. "The garden. Mom mentioned you have one like Gran's." "Very similar," Nancy confirms. "My grandmother taught me which plants to grow together, which had protective properties or healing. Once," she pauses, remembering, "when Donna was small and had nightmares, I'd make her a sachet of lavender and chamomile to put under her pillow, an old remedy my grandmother swore by." "Mom did the same for me," Henry says, surprised. "Exact same combination." The parallel hangs in the air between them, another thread connecting these families, separated by circumstance, but united by unexpected commonalities. Nancy feels a curious sense of rightness, as though pieces of a puzzle are gradually finding their proper places. "I'd like to see your garden sometime," Henry says. "Compare notes, you know." "I'd like that," Nancy replies, meaning it. The conversation shifts to wedding details, to Henry's work at the community center, to his budding friendship with Garrett. By the time he leaves, the gazpacho safely stored in Nancy's refrigerator, Nancy feels a sense of expansion rather than loss. Her family isn't being replaced or diminished. It's growing, branching out in directions she never anticipated. Later that evening, Donna calls, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Garrett's grandmother offered to make my veil. She does the most incredible lace work. And get this, she wants to incorporate a traditional Portuguese pattern that Francine showed her from her family collection. Isn't that amazing?" "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Nancy says, genuinely pleased. The integration of traditions, Stevens, Wilson, Garrett's family, feels right somehow, a blending rather than a competition. "Oh, and I wanted to ask," Donna continues, "do you think we could use your pottery for the centerpieces? Those blue bowls you made last year would be perfect with wildflowers from the lake property." "Of course." The request touches Nancy deeply, her art becoming part of this pivotal day, her creations literally at the center of the celebration. "Great. I'll tell Francine. She's helping with flower arrangements." Donna pauses, then adds more tentatively, "Is that okay? I know things are still complicated between you two." "It's perfectly fine," Nancy assures her. "Actually, Henry stopped by today, brought gazpacho." "Oh, good. I told him you'd love it." Donna sounds pleased. "He's really eager to be involved, you know. Says he's making up for 30 years of missed sibling rivalry." Nancy laughs. "He mentioned the DNA testing idea. Are you sure you're okay with it? I know it might seem like I don't know, rejecting your heritage or something." "Not at all," Nancy says firmly. "Knowledge is never a bad thing. And anyway, aren't you curious? Beyond the Portuguese connection, who knows what you might discover?" That's what Garrett said. He's fascinated by the whole idea. Donna's voice grows thoughtful. "It's strange, Mom. A few months ago, I was so thrown by all this, questioning everything, but now it feels like my world is expanding, not falling apart. That's a healthy way to look at it, Nancy says, pride swelling in her chest at her daughter's resilience, her capacity for growth. Francine suggested we have a family dinner next week, Donna says, changing the subject slightly. At her place, all of us, you, me, Garrett, Henry, even Margaret if she's feeling up to it. Margaret's health has been declining rapidly, the cancer stealing her vitality week by week. Sort of a pre-wedding gathering of the tribes. The phrasing makes Nancy smile. I think that sounds lovely. After they hang up, Nancy sits on her back porch, watching fireflies begin their evening dance above her garden. Her initial fears of being replaced, of losing Donna to her biological family, have gradually transformed into something more nuanced. There is room, she's discovering, for multiple kinds of love in one heart. Donna hasn't diminished her love for Nancy by developing affection for Francine. Instead, her capacity for connection has simply grown. The dinner at Francine's apartment the following week proves surprisingly enjoyable. Francine is a talented cook, serving traditional Portuguese dishes that remind Nancy of her own grandmother's kitchen. Margaret attends despite her frailty, her wit still sharp, though her body is failing. She watches the unlikely family with evident satisfaction, as though witnessing the resolution of her life's greatest regret. The conversation flows easily, touching on wedding plans, Henry's research, Garrett's architectural projects. Nancy finds herself engaged in a lengthy discussion with Francine about traditional crafts, their shared appreciation for handmade things forming an unexpected bridge between them. As the evening winds down, Margaret asks for a moment of everyone's attention. Seated in the most comfortable chair, a blanket across her knees despite the summer heat, she raises her wine glass with a slightly trembling hand. To second chances, she says, her voice thin but clear, and to the extraordinary capacity of the human heart to expand rather than divide when faced with unexpected truths. They drink to her toast, the sentiment hanging in the air like a benediction. Later, as they prepare to leave, Margaret takes Nancy's hand, drawing her aside. I've carried the weight of what I did for 30 years, she says quietly. Watching you all tonight, seeing what you've built together despite the rocky foundation, it gives me peace I never thought I'd find. Nancy squeezes the older woman's fragile hand. We all did the best we could with the situations we found ourselves in. Margaret's eyes fill with tears. Some better than others. The past is past, Nancy says gently. What matters is what we choose to do now. Margaret nods, blinking rapidly. You were always the right mother for her, she whispers. Never doubt that. The words settle into Nancy's heart, a balm she hadn't known she still needed. July arrives, in a blaze of heat and anticipation. The wedding week brings a flurry of activity, final fittings, menu tastings, endless lists checked and rechecked. Through it all, Nancy marvels at the transformation of the past few months. Donna, initially shattered by the revelation of her origins, now moves through her days with a new confidence, a deeper understanding of herself that incorporates rather than rejects the complicated truth of her beginning. The day before the wedding, they all gather at the lake property. Men set up tents and arrange tables on the lawn, sloping down to the water, while women adorn the space with wildflowers, twinkling lights, and handmade decorations. Nancy's blue pottery bowls, filled with Queen Anne's lace and black-eyed Susans, harvested from the property's meadow, grace each table. Francine's narrative quilts, depicting scenes from Great Lakes maritime history, hang as art pieces in the reception tent. As evening approaches, work gradually ceases. Someone builds a bonfire on the beach, and they gather around it with bottles of wine and plates of food prepared by various hands. Garrett's family, initially wary of the unusual situation, have warmed to both Nancy and Francine, recognizing the gift their son is receiving. Not one mother-in-law, but two, each bringing different strengths and traditions to enrich his marriage. Henry sits beside Donna on a driftwood log, their similar profiles silhouetted against the setting sun. They've developed an easy sibling rapport, teasing and supportive in turn. Watching them, Nancy feels not jealousy but gratitude for this unexpected extension of family, for the joy it brings her daughter. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Francine says softly, sitting beside Nancy on the sand. "All of this." She gestures toward the gathering, the lake beyond, the sun sinking into water in a burst of orange and gold. "Yes," Nancy agrees simply. "It is." They sit in companionable silence for a moment, these two women who have journeyed from strangers to adversaries to something approaching friendship over the course of a tumultuous year. "I've been thinking," Francine says eventually, "about tomorrow, about traditions." She hesitates, then continues. "In Portuguese custom, both parents walk the bride down the aisle, both mothers in our case." Nancy turns to look at her, surprised. "Donna asked me months ago, before everything." "I know, and that's as it should be." Francine meets her gaze directly. "But I thought perhaps I could wait near the front, with Henry, be part of the receiving line at least." The request, so modest, so careful not to overstep, touches Nancy deeply. "I think that would be perfect," she says. "I'll speak to Donna, but I'm sure she'd love that arrangement." Relief washes over Francine's face. "Thank you." As darkness falls completely, someone begins to distribute paper lanterns, delicate constructions of tissue and wire with small candles at their centers. An old tradition Nancy knows from both their Portuguese ancestors. Lanterns sent into the night sky to honor connections that transcend the physical world. Donna approaches with 3 lanterns, handing one to Nancy and one to Francine. "Garrett's grandmother explained the tradition to me," she says. "Each woman in the family lights one, making a silent wish for the bride as it rises." Together, they move to the water's edge. Francine lights her lantern first, her face solemn in the golden glow as she makes her silent wish before releasing it to the night sky. Nancy follows, closing her eyes briefly as she holds the warm paper between her palms. Her wish is simple: happiness in all its complex and unpredictable forms for the daughter of her heart. Donna lights hers last, watching with shining eyes, as all 3 lanterns rise in unison, carried by the gentle lake breeze. Higher and higher they float, joining others launched by Garrett's family members, by friends, by well-wishers. Soon the night sky is dotted with moving lights, like earthbound stars ascending to join their celestial counterparts. "Beautiful," Donna whispers, standing between her 2 mothers, an arm linked through each of theirs. "Perfect." The morning of the wedding dawns, clear and bright, a gift after days of unstable weather forecasts. The lake lies calm, reflecting the cloudless blue sky like a mirror. In the small Cape Cod house, activity begins early. Hairstylists and makeup artists arriving, flowers being arranged, last-minute details attended to with cheerful efficiency. Nancy helps Donna dress in the largest bedroom, which once belonged to Francine's grandmother. The wedding gown is simple but elegant, its clean lines accentuated by handwork from both families. The antique brooch from Nancy's side, pinned just above Donna's heart, and the delicate lace veil created by Garrett's grandmother, incorporating Portuguese patterns from Francine's family archives. "Something old, something new," Nancy murmurs, adjusting the veil carefully. "Something borrowed, something blue," Donna completes, touching the sapphire earrings borrowed from Francine and the blue silk garter Henry's girlfriend had given her with a wink and a laugh. As Nancy secures the last hairpin, a knock sounds. At the door, Francine peers in hesitantly, already dressed for the ceremony in a flowing teal dress that complements Nancy's navy blue ensemble without matching it exactly. "May I come in?" she asks. "I have something for you, for both of you, actually." At Donna's nod, she enters, carrying a small wooden box inlaid with mother-of-pearl. "This belonged to my grandmother, Donna's great-grandmother," she explains, opening it to reveal 3 delicate silver bracelets, each set with a small blue stone. "In our family, they're passed from mother to daughter at significant transitions. I thought maybe we could each wear one today." The gesture, so inclusive, brings tears to Nancy's eyes. Donna immediately extends her wrist, allowing Francine to fasten one of the bracelets. "It's beautiful," she says softly. "Thank you." Francine offers the second to Nancy, who hesitates only briefly before accepting. As the cool silver settles against her skin, she feels a curious sense of connection, not just to Donna and Francine, but to a lineage of women stretching back through generations, bound by love and tradition rather than merely by blood. Francine fastens the third around her own wrist, completing the circle. For a moment, the 3 women stand together in the sunlit room, linked by silver and stone and something deeper, something forged through pain and honesty and the courageous choice to create connection where division might have flourished. The ceremony itself passes in a blur of emotion. Nancy walks her daughter down the grassy aisle to where Garrett waits beneath an arch of wildflowers. Francine and Henry stand nearby, their presence a compliment rather than a competition. As Donna and Garrett exchange vows written in their own words, Nancy finds herself reaching for Francine's hand, the shared joy of witnessing their daughter's happiness transcending all past difficulties. During the reception, as twilight softens the edges of the day, Nancy finds a quiet moment alone on the dock, extending into the lake. Behind her, music and laughter drift from the tent where dancing has begun. Before her, the water stretches calm and infinite, reflecting the first emerging stars. "Room for one more?" Francine's voice comes softly from behind. Nancy turns, smiling. "Always." Francine joins her at the edge of the dock, both women slipping off their shoes to dangle their feet in the cool water. They sit in companionable silence for a while, watching the light change as day surrenders fully to evening. "I never imagined this," Francine says finally. "When I found you, I hoped maybe for occasional visits, for a chance to know she was well. I never dreamed—" She gestures toward the celebration behind them, the unlikely family they've created together. "Life rarely follows the paths we envision," Nancy observes. "Sometimes it creates something better than we could have imagined." Francine nods, her expression thoughtful. "My mother called yesterday," she says, changing the subject slightly. "First time in years. She heard about the wedding through family channels. Wanted to know if I'd made peace with the past." "And have you?" Nancy asks gently. "I've made something better than peace," Francine says, her gaze finding Donna and Garrett dancing, their faces illuminated by lantern light. "I've made a new present, a new future." "We all have," Nancy agrees. From the reception tent, Henry approaches, carrying 3 glasses of champagne. "Mom," he calls, meaning both of them. "They're about to cut the cake. Donna sent me to find you." The simple designation, Mom, spoken so naturally to both women, encapsulates the journey they've traveled. Not competitors for a limited resource of love, but co-creators of an expanded definition of family. Nancy accepts the champagne, rising to her feet. Francine does the same, and together they follow Henry back to the celebration, to the daughter they share in different but equally meaningful ways, to the future they will navigate together. not as adversaries but as allies in love. As they reach the tent, Donna spots them and breaks away from Garrett, hurrying over with flushed cheeks and shining eyes. "There you are! I need both of you for the cake cutting." She links arms with them, drawing them into the circle of light and laughter. "Both my mums in one place. How lucky am I?" And in that moment, Nancy knows with absolute certainty that the disruption that began with a rain-soaked stranger at her door nearly 4 months ago has transformed into the greatest gift imaginable. Not the loss of her daughter's love, but its expansion into something richer and more complex than she could have imagined. Like the healing garden they both tended without knowing of the other, their separate loves for Donna have grown together, intertwining to create something stronger, more vibrant, more beautiful than either could have cultivated alone. As Donna takes the cake knife, Nancy and Francine stand side by side, silver bracelets catching the light, watching their daughter begin this new chapter of her life. A chapter they will witness together, their improbable friendship a testament to the extraordinary capacity of the human heart to grow beyond expected boundaries, to find connection where division might have flourished, to transform pain into unexpected joy. For Nancy, the year's journey has taught her that motherhood isn't defined by blood or legal documents, but by the daily choice to love without condition. Her greatest fear, losing her daughter, transformed into her greatest gift, watching her daughter's world and heart expand. As the final notes of the wedding song fade into the summer night, Nancy realizes that sometimes the most beautiful things in life come from the most painful disruptions, and in that knowledge she finds peace. Congratulations, type 9 in the comments so that I know you stayed until the end with me. Thank you for watching, and until tomorrow's story on this same channel.